Hey everybody, welcome back to another review. We did like 3 or 4 reviews at once, so I hope you guys are cool with like multiple reviews. I will be trying to do more content that's not review oriented. I just want to make up for the lack of reviews. Um, but and there's just also been movies that I've just been wanting to see. Um, just got out of 3,000 Years of Longing. I want to say A Longing. I really like. I feel like that fits better as a title. 3,000 Years of Longing. I don't know why. Kind of fits in more with the fantastical elements that the movie has. I was trying to turn on more lights, but I think we're good. Um, but uh, but there are elements to this that I think that are fairly good. For one thing, it's visually interesting. I think that it's apparent based on the marketing that it would be that way. Um, and it lives up to it from that point of view. It's visually quite driven, especially towards the end. There's some very interesting sequences from a visual medium that really, kind of engage in those fronts. Um, and the performances are also good. I think Tilda Swinton is always great. I always love seeing her. I liked her in We Need to Talk About Kevin. I also really liked her in Orlando. I thought she was really good in that. And Idris Elba I also think is good. I never am huge on Idris Elba. I know a lot of people are, but I just find him to be okay. I thought he was pretty good in this because he was just pretty much just spitting a bunch of monologues and stuff. Um, and the concept is interesting. I'll put it that way. It's an interesting concept. It's a love story, and it does fall into some predictability, major predictability. But I didn't really find that to be the issue because I felt the idea was interesting enough. The issues that I had is that if there's a word for the movie, it's rambling, because the movie loves to talk. This movie loves to just spit a bunch of monologues and rambles. It just kind of amounts to just, that this dude lived a long life. That's basically the short version of it. But the movie really wants to hammer a certain point, and it just becomes really exhausting. And you're just like, okay, we get it. This guy has been through a lot, and he's not, manipulating her. We understand it. Can we just move on? And eventually, when we do move on, the movie makes a point to have multiple endings almost. Like there's multiple times where you're like thinking the movie's going to end, and then it just keeps going, and then it keeps going, and then it keeps going. And where it chooses to end, visually it's interesting, but you're just like, at this point you're just like, okay, cool. um, when we could have really ended like really sooner. And it shocks me because it feels like a long movie. It's under 2 hours, and yet it felt longer, because of how much they stretch this premise and how much they stretch. Like, this is a talkie movie. Like people use that kind of phrase, talkie movie, in a very negative connotation, and I would put this as an example of one, because it just keeps talking and keeps talking and talking and talking until eventually you're kind of tuning it out a little bit, because it's like, all right, we've heard this, we know what you're talking about, we know what you're trying to get at. Like, we've heard it literally thousands of times. So I also feel that this concept would have been much better if it had more restraint, because I know that there was budget to it. Like, you can tell that there's budget to it. And I really wish that wasn't the case, because I feel like this kind of concept would have worked really. It would have been more gripping and more interesting if we maybe didn't have so much of a visual flair. Maybe have more of a mystery as to what the genie's world has, and give some visuals here or there, but don't floor us with so much, because it kind of takes the mystery out of the genie. I think that it would have been more interesting to have the genie as a mysterious figure versus having him talk on end on who he is and his whole story. Like, it's just it gets a little boring. It gets really redundant. Um, so I feel that its biggest issues are just, like I said, just goes on these endless rambles, and I feel that its concept is just not benefiting from the right. It's not. It's not. This is not. This is a concept that deserves to have less money, because the lesser the money, the more impact that it would have, and I feel like the more the concept would thrive. Because as it stands, sure, yeah, it's visually interesting, and yes, the performances are good. I really like Tilda Swinton, um, and to a degree, the it's it's interesting to follow. But after like a good 30-40 minutes, you just the rambles just keep going, and it keeps going and going and going, and they never really try to switch anything. Um, they never they never leave the room, and I don't have a problem with that kind of storytelling. But you have to have more go on than just these two talking back and forth. More actions have to take place. More movement in the room has to happen. Like, actually utilize your space versus just sitting in the bedroom. Um, because I feel like George Miller was more interested in what he can do visually a lot of times than what he can do narratively. Because it felt like he was just like, okay, put these two in the room, let's just try to, create a certain foundation from there, and then I'm just gonna go nuts with the visuals. And it just doesn't really land for me personally. Um, I can't call it a bad movie because I mean, I was bored eventually because it just kept talking in a certain way, and it just, it started to bore me. It never really switched its rhythm. Um, but the rhythm that it has, it's not terrible. Like, it's not something that would that I would be annoyed by. I just think that it needs um, a better it needs a uh, uh, better production, and a better um, just a better eye for for budget, because I feel like just the night I think this was like a $90 million sort of thing. This should have been a lot lower, because I really think that it would have benefited from more restraint, and the trimming of the rambles as well. Like, more action needed to take place than words, because I mean, words are powerful, but if it's just the same shit being told to me for an hour and a half, it can get boring, and it can feel like the movie is a lot longer than it actually is. So it's not bad, but it's not a movie that I would return to anytime soon. Um, Maybe for Tilda Swinton, but yeah, I feel like this is an idea that's interesting, but it's just in the wrong um, environment. It needs to be in a much different environment. Restraint is like the word that comes to me a lot. I wish there was another word, but I feel like restraint would have benefited this idea so much better. More mystery to the genie would have given more heft to the story, and um, more questions, and more. I think more themes would have been present, because the themes that are present are just, well, like, desires, basically. That's basically what the movie boils down to, and like greed and all that. The expected ideas. Um, and the movie acts like there's more on its mind, but I just don't see it. And I feel like the way to see it is to um, become more restrained. But the movie, because of its big budget and the stars that are attached to it, it doesn't give itself a chance to do so. So, so yeah, I don't know if I'd recommend it. I mean, I guess if you like, um, um, I guess if you like just movies that just talk, and just say the same thing over and over again, just beating you on the head with it, I guess you could like this. But if you actually like a movie that has a little more nuance, and um, a little bit more going on, and actually feels more complete as a narrative, um, and also one that doesn't really bore you, I don't think this is the one. So. So that's my thoughts on it. I'm a little bit torn in certain respects, but I'm mostly leaning towards I probably wouldn't watch this again, sort of thing. So, but yeah, those are my thoughts on 3,000 Years of Longing. You guys let me know your thoughts on the movie. Yeah, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm not sure what the next video holds. See what the future holds, I guess. But until then, guys, let me know your thoughts on the movie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.